Hello and welcome to another video from AVForums. I'm Phil Hinton and I've been the editor since 2003. I'm also a fully trained and qualified THX and ISF professional calibrator with 18 years of experience. In today's video we have our review of the Panasonic JZ1500 OLED TV. Before we talk about the performance of the Panasonic, if you like our reviews and want to see more of them while supporting our channel, then please like and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell to be informed every time we upload new video content. You can also find a link to our Patreon in the video description, and also don't forget to check out the TV forums at Europe's largest AV community on AVForums to see what owners of this TV think about it after normal use in their own home. We publish our in-depth TV reviews, which include measurements and calibration results first on AVForums, usually a little while before our YouTube videos, so make sure you head over to check them out as they contain even more in-depth calibration details and testing. We reviewed the Panasonic JZ1500 in September 2021. The Panasonic JZ1500 is the second from the top of the company's 2021 OLED TV range, and gone are the soundbar and upward firing speakers from last year's HZ1500, but the panel is now the top of the range custom professional panel with the heatsink and increased brightness, giving enthusiasts a monitor-like package for use with their existing sound systems. The JZ1500 is not a monitor in the truest form. It still has a sound system consisting of downward firing speakers and woofers with decoding for Dolby Atmos content, but it's a more traditional approach to the sound quality, which is fine for everyday TV viewing without firing up your full external sound system. The Panasonic JZ1500 also supports all the major HDR formats with Dolby Vision, Dolby Vision IQ, HDR10, HDR10 Plus and HDR10 Plus Adaptive, as well as the broadcast-friendly HLG Hybrid Log Gamma. It also has all the major features found on the JZ2000, with the new HCX Pro AI processor taking up the video processing chores to an incredibly high standard of accuracy. The AI element is new for 2021, with automatic recognition of content types enabling the appropriate processing of the image. Panasonic JZ1500 also continues with the My Home Screen Smart TV and OS system, with access to the most popular apps including Disney+. The system is fast, with no crashes during our time with the TV, and you can switch from app to app without the system hanging or slowing down. The major apps are also 4K HDR capable, and we found no issues with the image or sound quality during use. The JZ1500 is also available in a 48, 55 and 65 inch screen sizes, but be aware that the 48 inch version does not get the custom professional OLED panel with the extra brightness and heatsink. It gets a normal OLED panel. It does, however, have all the other features and benefits. Image quality is superb, with excellent accuracy out of the box with filmmaker mode, providing an image that looks superb with film and TV content, and blacks are rich and deep with excellent shadow detailing and natural, lifelike skin tones and colours. Motion is also superb with no issues with 24 frames per second, and we noticed no induced judder or frame skipping with film content. The new processor is also fast and provides superb upscaling performance to add to the excellent motion, with images looking sharp and detailed without the digitally processed look of some rival screens. HDR is also significant on the JZ1500, with superb peak highlight details, adding serious dynamic range to the image, along with excellent motion and with natural and lifelike colour reproduction. It's a seriously cinematic experience on the JZ1500. Compared to the more expensive Sony A90J, I actually prefer the JZ1500 for nearly all of its image attributes over the Sony, including much better out-of-the-box accuracy to the standards and its brighter peak highlight performance and more natural looking image over the Sony's more processed and sharpened image. The Sony was capable of slightly more brightness with larger areas of colour or white within the frame, and slightly brighter colours on extremely colourful HDR test content, but when in isolation this advantage in a side-by-side was less obvious to see with normal HDR content. Overall, the Panasonic JZ1500 is exactly what users have been asking for from the company for use with external outboard sound systems. Image quality is incredibly accurate out of the box in filmmaker mode, and its peak brightness advantage appears on screen as well as on paper, with excellent peak highlight details. All of the competing screens have their own pros and cons, so it will come down to which screen matches your needs, but the Panasonic JZ1500 certainly comes highly recommended. Looking at the grayscale results in filmmaker mode, we can see that it is incredibly accurate to the standards out of the box. There is a slight decrease in blue energy as the image gets brighter and a very slight rise in red, but these are items only seen within the graph, as our delta E errors are all well under the visible threshold of 3, with the average error being between 1 and 2. The gamma is also tracking well to the BT1886 standard for HD content, with just a few points being a touch too dark on the graph, but this, like the grayscale errors, is completely invisible to the human eye, and as such, for an out-of-the-box preset, filmmaker mode is remarkably accurate with grayscale and gamma. Moving to the Rec 709 colour gamut results in filmmaker mode, we can see a slight shift of the saturation points, especially around magenta, which is slightly towards red. However, even with these slight errors, actual film and TV content looks very accurate, with no visible errors seen. Our delta E errors are averaged at 2.4, which is below the visible threshold of 3 and therefore should be unseen. Overall, for an out-of-the-box preset, filmmaker mode is reassuringly accurate to the standards and displays film and TV content as it was mastered and intended to be seen. As you can see from the grayscale results above, the Panasonic JZ1500 is incredibly accurate once calibrated, with no errors at all. The delta E errors are all well under the visible threshold of 3, with an average error of 0.3 across the whole range. Gamma is also excellent, with no major issues seen at all with the tracking to BT1886. The Rec 709 colour gamut results are also excellent, with the small issues encountered out of the box in filmmaker mode now corrected. All our colour points are now where they should be, with just some small errors visible in the chart. With actual viewing content, there's no visible colour errors at all seen with any TV and film content. Overall, for SDR, the JZ1500 offers a superbly accurate image following calibration. As the Panasonic JZ1500 features the custom professional OLED panel with the heatsink, we expected good things from the panel for peak brightness results. Looking at 1, 2, 5 and 10% window results, we can see that the JZ1500 measured in at approximately 877 nits, before dropping off to 143 nits with a full white window. So it certainly gets brighter than the LG C1 and G1, as well as the Sony A90J with small window sizes, but it struggles to match the A90J with a full white window, showing that there is more dimming being applied, although we found the ABL circuit to be laid back and not aggressive in any way in the comparison. These measurements were taken in the HDR filmmaker mode, which is the closest to the D65 white point and which tracks PQ EOTF to the ST2084 standard accurately. We do have two different tone maps employed by the Panasonic depending on the mastered metadata for 1000 and 4000 nit content. With 1000 nit content, the tracking is accurate until the peak brightness, where there is a hard clip. The map for 4000 nits or higher content varies in that it follows the standards but then gradually rolls off towards the clip point, and doing so retains all the highlight details within the content. The DCI-P3 colour gamut results are also good, with just a few small errors seen on the saturation tracking chart. Magenta, yellow and red have some hue and saturation errors, but with actual HDR content, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to notice these issues. Green is also slightly short of the gamut size. We measured BT2020 at 72% XY and 79% UV, with P3 coming in at 96% XY and 98% UV. The panel uniformity is very good, with no obvious issues seen with dirty screen effect or banding. With a 5% slide, there's also some very slight visible banding seen, but these are invisible with normal viewing content, including dark scenes viewed in a dark viewing environment. At brighter levels, there is no visible issues at all, with excellent uniformity, including 100% white without any colour shift or tinting when viewed from normal angles. Black levels are also very good, with no major issues visible with most content. Watching some compressed SD and HD material, I did notice a little bit more black gradation issues and some mild flashing with bit-starved TV signals. However, this was fleeting and never a major issue that would distract from viewing. With higher quality signals, I also noticed a slight increase in bright area gradation, especially around bright objects against darker backgrounds. And as Panasonic doesn't have any smooth gradation settings in the video processing, I couldn't find any settings that would get around this in the accurate picture presets. While these issues are slight and don't necessarily distract or spoil the end results for the vast majority of content I viewed, it is a slight step back for Panasonic when compared to previous custom professional panel models. Video processing is also very good on the JZ1500, with excellent motion with 24 frames per second without any induced judder and correct 5.5 pull down. There are no issues with any frame skipping, even when using the intelligent frame creation processing and interpolation. This is a step forward for Panasonic, as the frame skip issue has been around for a number of years now when using IFC. Although it was rare and never really a deal breaker, it's good that it no longer exists. Upscaling is also superb on the JZ1500, with very good SD and HD scaling of resolutions that are lower than the UHD panel. For SDR content, the Panasonic is incredibly cinematic looking, with excellent grayscale and colour performance that breathes life into film content with superb accuracy. Motion is also very good indeed, with no issues of induced judder, and upscale images are sharp without any ringing or edge enhancement. Black levels are deep, as expected with OLED, along with very good just above black detail retrieval. Brightness is also very good with SDR content, which is obviously benefiting from the custom professional panel. This means that you can calibrate the JZ1500 for a brighter room and retain consistency and accuracy in filmmaker mode, or by using one of the ISF picture preset settings. With HDR content, including Dolby Vision, the performance was superb, with the JZ1500 looking fantastically cinematic and bright. The sheer dynamic range on offer thanks to the extra brightness for peak highlights is incredible, with HDR images that pop off the screen and look stunning. Skin tones look lifelike and realistic, with other primary colours also looking natural yet vivid and detailed. Detail levels are excellent, with no false edges or added sharpening. It looks natural and balanced, with no digital looking sharpness. There is a slight lack of colours in the brightest reaches of the image, but this is also not really noticeable in a side-by-side comparison with the Sony A90J. As a monitor for movie fans looking for a high brightness OLED panel with stunning peak highlights, the JZ1500 is certainly a front runner. The only downside is full screen white performance, which is slightly dimmer than the Sony A90J and LG G1, but the ABL circuit is relaxed and doesn't noticeably kick in when switching between brighter scenes from darkness. Where the Panasonic does stand out much more than the Sony is with its image accuracy and cinematic quality out of the box in filmmaker mode, with its more natural looking image compared to the sharp, digitally processed look of the Sony. This is where I feel the Panasonic does stand out, along with a more natural looking colour palette. The Panasonic JZ1500 doesn't introduce anything new to the design language of current OLED TVs, with a clean, minimalist panel and a round bezel stand for the 55 and 65 inch TVs, and a rectangular stand base for the 48 inch model. In my opinion, the round stand just doesn't quite fit with a high-end TV like the JZ1500, and as a result, in my opinion, it looks a little bit cheap. Obviously, design is subjective, and some users will probably like the round stand and the fact that you can swivel the screen, but for me it just looks a little bit out of place, but it's hardly a deal breaker. The connections are found on the rear of the JZ1500 and consist of sideways and downward facing inputs. On the side, we have a CI slot, a headphone and subwoofer 3.5mm jack, two USB connections, and HDMI 4, which is an HDMI 2.0B port. Downwards facing, we have an RF and two satellite antennas, a USB slot, three HDMI ports, along with a legacy AV connector, a LAN port, and digital audio output. The HDMI ports on the downwards facing side are split between HDMI 1 and 2 being HDMI 2.1 compliant, and HDMI 3 is 2.0B. The JZ1500 also comes with a newly designed remote control with new button layouts and direct access keys for streaming services and Freeview Play. The body's made from plastic with a silver coloured face, and the unit feels light but fits neatly in the hand. The keys are larger than previous models from a Panasonic remote, but the new design also looks like a Panasonic unit of the past. Overall, while at the price point we like to see an all-metal affair, the supplied remote control does the job and works as expected. For much more detail and test results on the Panasonic, you can of course read the full in-depth review at avforums.com, and thanks for watching.